Hello everyone! So, today for the next several months, I'll be reviewing each and every single one of the God of War games in the style I like to call Road to the God of War Trilogy Remake. Today, we shall be reviewing the first game of the series, God of War. Released in 2005 on the PlayStation 2, the game became a smashing hit and one of the most epic hack and slash video games ever made at the time. You know something? A lot of great games were made back in 2005, and TV shows and movies, too. You got God of War 1, Revenge of the Sith, Peter Jackson's King Kong, Ultimate Spider-Man on the PS2, Resident Evil 4, Shadow of the Colossus, and Avatar. Now with all that aside, let's get straight into the game and where it all started. God of War brings us into the world of ancient Greece, full of gods, monsters, heroes, titans, and so much more to offer. Here we follow the story of a Spartan warrior named Kratos, who was in the service to the gods of Olympus. The gods gave Kratos his final task to destroy Ares, the god of war. And this is something that Kratos himself has been waiting for a long time. 10 years in fact. Thus, we journey through fighting all types of enemies with our armed weapons, the Blades of Chaos. We go to several locations in this game. We start off in the Aegean Sea, fighting undead warriors, harpies, and archers. And then we finally face off against the beast itself, the Hydra. Kratos fights two smaller Hydra heads and finds a way to keep them in place in order to take down the final true head, and Kratos takes it down with ease. As we arrive in the ancient city of Athens, we fight off a lot of enemies, including Minotaurs, Cyclopses, and even Medusa herself, and many more. As we go along to find the Oracle of Athens, eventually we find the Oracle and she tells us that the only way we can defeat Ares is with Pandora's box, which is said to have the power to kill a god. The box itself lies far beyond Athens in the Desert of Lost Souls. As we make it into the Desert of Lost Souls, Athena informs us that the box is within Pandora's temple, which is chained to the back of the Titan, Kronos. We make our way through, even encountering the Sirens, and we get to use a large horn, which just summons Kronos, I guess, so yeah. And Kratos quite literally climbs for 3 days. No water, no breaks, that's how you know he's a Spartan. Once Kratos gets inside the temple, he must go through many obstacles and challenges that the temple has to offer. He succeeds and even fights this giant-sized armor minotaur, which in lore is called Pandora's Guardian. But we take out the Guardian with ease. Now, as we're going along in the temple, we even get flashbacks of Kratos' past life when he was a general in the Spartan army, and how he rose to power and faced off against the barbarians and made his deal with Ares that even gained him the Blades of Chaos. Nearing the end of Pandora's temple, we finally reach and claim Pandora's box, and Athena appears again one last time to tell us that we are the first mortals to ever reach Pandora's box. And then we gotta push it all the way back to Athens. But never mind, we actually get a cutscene, and it reveals the great tragedy and the death of Kratos' family, a cruel trick orchestrated by the god of war. And so Kratos would swear revenge to destroy the god that once saved his life. Then the oracle of the village cursed him to wear the ashes of his family, and it will be seen by all, and to never be removed. And so all will come to know him as the beast he is, the ghost of Sparta. And then Ares was told that Kratos has Pandora's box, and Ares throws a huge pillar like a football touchdown, and it kills Kratos, sending him into the underworld. But knowing Kratos, he ain't giving up that easy, so he makes his way through the underworld, finding many enemies along the way. And there's, of course, the area where everyone struggles with, the climbing part. Make one wrong move and, ooh, you are going back to the bottom. One fatal mistake right there, and you're back to the bottom, and yeah. Eventually, we will make it across. We will make it eventually. I believe twice, in fact. Yes, you heard me, twice. And after that, we eventually climb onto a rope that pretty much gets us back into Athens, and we also find the Gravedigger earlier, who talked to us when we were going to rescue the Oracle. And fun fact, actually, this is actually Zeus in disguise. If you have played Ghost of Sparta on the PSP or on the PS3, he's actually a playable character. No, I'm not joking, he actually is. He's got the Gauntlet of Zeus and the Blade of Olympus. Not joking, folks. Anyway, Kratos fights his way through the ruined temple one last time to face off against any of Ares' last line of defense. And thus, we make it outside where the bridge of Athena is, And we finally get to face the man himself. We get to finally fight Ares. Now, Ares is probably one of my favorite bosses in the entire game. First place in this game, in fact, since Ares has got a lot of attacks, and his boss theme music is pretty awesome. After that first encounter, we are pulled into a portal to the location of our greatest failure, and we have to fight to save our family from a bunch of evil Kratos clones who are attacking them. Once we've defeated the evil Kratos clones, Ares manages to take away all our powers, all our magic, all our weapons, including the Blades of Chaos. And, it doesn't go well for the family again. But back into the real world, Ares was about to strike down Kratos until Kratos realized that the gods flipped him a final gift. And it turns out the actual Bridge of Athena actually was a sword this whole time, surprisingly. And thus we get our one last final duel with Ares, and we defeat the god of war forever. Pretty much. And thus the trophy God Slayer pops up in the title, so yay! And after that defeat of Ares, Kratos went to speak to Athena again to rid him of the memories and nightmares that still haunts him. Athena tells Kratos that the gods are impressed with his progress, and therefore his sins are forgiven, but they never promise to take away his nightmares. And with that being said, Kratos then walked up the highest mountain in all of Greece and looked over the Aegean Sea. Though it seems Kratos' life has come to an end, the gods have other plans, so they manage to keep Kratos alive and they reward him with being the new god of war, and Kratos accepts. He also gets new weapons called the Blades of Athena. Kratos sits down on the throne of the god of war, claiming his new rightful place. So that's the main story. It's absolutely a great story about tragedy and vengeance overall. Now, the combat is super fun and it still holds up to this day. The Blades of Chaos are the most used weapons you'll be using throughout the entire game, and they're the most fun with a lot of combos you can do. I can't wait to see what they actually do in the God of War Remake with God of War 1. Definitely, I can't wait. But we also got other magic abilities like Poseidon's Rage, one of the most useful and powerful magic abilities in the entire game. Then there's Medusa's Gaze, which is able to turn enemies into stone, which is very useful for getting more red orbs. Next is Zeus's Lightning Bolts. It's easily the weakest out of them all. And then we actually have a new weapon, the Blade of Artemis. It's a big purple sword, but you can also upgrade it to a big red sword. It's pretty good for combos and also that. Then there's the Army of Hades, which is another most useful item, useful magic ability, and it's pretty good. Yeah, pretty good, especially when you upgrade it as well. And then we also have the Rage of the Gods, which is also very useful for taking out bigger enemies or large groups of enemies. And it's also very useful when you also manage to upgrade the blades to level 5 to get more damage. So with that being said, let's take a look at some of the stuff in the treasures area, which unlocks some cool stuff, like some cutscenes, behind-the-scenes videos, a gallery of scrapped stuff, which is honestly cool to see. I kind of miss when games used to do these. It was fun. Always cool. I wish they brought this back in the modern era, considering that everything has to be a multi-million-dollar budget movie these days. Now, we also got alternative costumes like Business Kratos, God Armor Kratos wearing Ares' armor, Cow Kratos, Chef Kratos, and Beach Kratos. But here's the thing. To get these, you gotta go through the challenges of the gods, which on the first few challenges is rather easy. They're pretty straightforward to do, but the last few ones are rather difficult, like the 8th challenge, the 9th challenge, and especially the last one, which many of us have failed on the last one many times, because it is rather extremely difficult. I am not joking. But it's all worth it in the end, because you beat it, you're a champion. Yeah. Now, let's talk about the real challenge of the game, God Mode. God Mode is the hardest difficulty after beating the game for the first time. And the journey in God Mode is, without a doubt, pretty hard. All the enemies and bosses are extremely difficult, and all the combat encounters as well are also extremely difficult. But nothing compares to the part where you have to save your family from the evil Kratos clones. And it is the most super hardest part in the entire game on this difficulty. And I've at least failed this part about 121 times as far as I can remember. But I will say, it is pretty worth it in the end beating this one. A true achievement, I will say. So overall, God of War 1 on the PlayStation 2 is quite the action-packed and awesome game, with its great storytelling and the character of Kratos, who would become one of the most iconic PlayStation characters in history, and thus this series is just the beginning. Thanks for watching, be sure to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you all next time as we take a look at its sequel, God of War 2.